There we go. So we'll give everybody a minute to join. I can see as participants are joining. So welcome everybody. We're going to give everybody about 2 more minutes to join, and then I'm going to very happily introduce my friend here, Chris Manning, who's going to help us with some great information. So sit back, grab that last sip of coffee or your afternoon beverage, depending on your time zone, and we will get started in just a minute. I don't know where everybody else is, but it's very early here. It's only 6 o'clock in the morning for me, so I'm sticking with my coffee. Awesome. It's just now 6 o'clock. And so a good way to get us started is that we normally will do a minute of silence here at Time Extender as a way of getting ready for a meeting to be able to land, focus, and connect. So as we let our last little stragglers join us, I'm going to have us take just a minute of silence. So there is no right or wrong way to do this. We just sit, take a few deep breaths, and connect with the now. Here we go. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that minute of silence. Looks like we got a few more who have joined us, but we're going to get started as it is 6 o'clock. Want to thank everybody for joining me here with Time Extender's Mental Health Awareness Month, since it is World Mental Health Awareness Month. At Time Extender, we actually have quite a few different sustainability and impact goals for our company, because we're not just for profit, we're also for purpose. And one of our sustainability and impact goals is health and wellness. So we like to reach out and help our employees with things that we can actually help with, and they can pass that knowledge on to the next person and the next person. And that ripple effect can affect so many people. So today we are going to talk about our health and wellness. We're going to talk about some mental health and something that everybody every day has to deal with, which is change. And it can be stressful, it can be exciting, but it's always something that's constant in our lives. So to help us handle change, I am so excited to introduce a good friend of Time Extenders and somebody who I count as now one of my friends, and I'm very excited, is Chris Manning. Chris, take it away.
Hello, how you doing?
Wonderful. How are you?
Good. Hello, everybody. I'm going to pretend I can hear you. Oh, I can feel the vibes.
Absolutely.
So I can't see you, but wave anyway. This is like a Jedi mind wave. Ready? Hey, all right. Excellent. Hey guys. So change, good effing Lord. This is a timely topic, but when is it not a timely topic? This is the topic of topics, right? This is the thing that I'm pretty old. I'm 55, and when I went to college, this was the new big thing. So this was, they told us then, hey, you know what just changed is that everything now changes all the time. And this was this was the 80s. So every decade we keep hearing, hey, now things are really going to change. And now with AI, oh yeah, now it's going to change. Yeah, but I heard that with computers. Yeah, I'm that old. I used to carry a laptop that was it was hard to carry physically without a trolley. And that was a laptop, which was a big thing. And it had, just orange. You could see that going across the screen. And they said, yeah, now with computers, everything's going to change. And then the internet, everything's going to change. And then cell phones, everything's going to change. And then AI, everything's going to, and the merger, boom. so the cool thing is, it's not really news anymore that things change all the time, but we're still not taught really how to do this. And I've been interested since I was a little kid in psychology. And even though most of the training that I had to do to learn how to apply psychology, I kind of had to learn after college, and I took every course I could find. It turns out that change, like the topic of change and how to process it well, this lecture could be worded many ways. The same tools apply, whether you are stressed, whether you are letting go of a loss. It's all, everything in psychology, not everything in psychology, but lots of things in practical psychology come down to, do you have the toolbox and the practice to handle crazy stuff that comes? Because crazy stuff will come. And the wild thing is, as much as I know we're in change right now, and it feels huge, it's amazing for those of you that have been through big change, massive life, like earthquake, seismic level change in your life. I have multiple times. And it's not the last time that these things accelerate as you get older, because then eventually it's like my parents, they've got so much change that of the 10 couples that they used to hang out with, there's only 2 left, and one of them is pretty sick. So change happens all the time. It's a constant, it's a natural, but we're not trained. So we're going to go through some tips today to help, because it has been studied in great detail, and there are patterns of success. There are people, I'm sure you know, that I call them surfer dudes, that are just good at change. They seem to, like a duck with water rolling off its back, they just seem to be fine. Hey man, it's all good. And other people, you move the tiniest thing on their desk and it's huge. So and life, as you get older and older, and move higher and higher in companies, what you end up finding is you really try naturally. You find things that work, and so you keep leaning on those things that work, and you learn wisdoms in life, and then you like, now I know how to do it, right? But then you keep, as you know, you keep learning new stuff. I thought I could handle loss, and then I had a really big loss, and then I didn't know how to handle it as well. So the really cool thing is, you're not in this alone. There is wisdom and patterns of success. We can model people in the past who have been through it, take a few pearls of wisdom from them, sprinkle some of the magic dust on ourselves, and then things get easier. That's the good news. And the other good news, since we're not going through this alone, is that you don't have to know how to do all this. You just have to know people that are willing to support you through it, basically. That's kind of how it works. But we're gonna do what's in our control and process the things that we can, using the tools that maybe we don't remember. Some of the stuff that we do will be keep it simple, stupid, but reminders. It's like health. You guys know what to do, but then you see, a really good article on sleep, and you're like, wow, man, sleep's really important. Yeah, you heard that when you were 12. And you just forgot it. So some of the stuff that we mentioned will be common timeless wisdom, and some of the stuff will be things that you probably haven't thought of. So hopefully a little bit of both. So if it's useful stuff. The first thing I want to do is kind of check in with you guys. And sometimes I'm going to ask you a question where I'm going to give you a second to think about it. And I do encourage, if you don't already have a pen and some paper, please grab it Go ahead and get it. Excellent. I can see it. and if you don't have it, feel free to just turn this up, run in the other room, grab some paper, grab a pen, because I'm going to ask you a few things. The first of which is, let's check in. I wonder if you feel you are the kind of person that is good at change, or the kind of person that change generally feels hard for you. I'd like you to think first, just big picture, take a second, check in. And what's your identity on that? Which camp do you fall into? Second, awareness related question. What's a particular change that you've made that you feel is the best change that you've made? Because you've made some big changes in your life. Some of the ones happened to you and you just weathered the storm, and other changes you actually chose. Doesn't matter which, but what's a change that was a major change in your life, but that you feel was the best change you've made? I'll give you a second to think about that. And last question, what's a change in your life that you feel was really difficult, that really hit you hard? You did not necessarily handle it as well as you wanted, or even if you did, it just was not an easy process to get through. What's a change in your life? Please write it down. One that you feel was a big one that was difficult. Now, as you're writing, the first area I want to talk about, the first kind of tool in your toolbox is global beliefs. Separate than what you'll hear me say is a global truth. Sometimes I'll say something's a universal truth or a global truth. I think there's about 9 of those. The big one being acceptance. That's another day. And we'll talk a little bit about some of those today. But what I mean is global beliefs, not a particular belief like who's going to win the NBA championship, but more 3 areas. The first thing, what do you believe most importantly about yourself? You have beliefs about you. I'm smart, I'm dumb, I'm rigid or stiff, I'm adaptable and flexible, I'm lucky, I'm unlucky. And we also have ones about life. Life is hard, life is easy. And then thirdly, we have ones about a specific change. So we've all just gone through a particular change with the merger, and there are a million changes relating to that, different for everybody, right? The process is the same. We're going to apply this towards whatever change in the business is going on for you right now, but this can be applied to any major change that you're dealing with. You have beliefs about a particular change. So let's say that there's been a change at work. Let's just say for the sake of argument that there was, just pretend. If there was, you have particular beliefs about that. It was good, it was bad, it's too fast, it's too slow, it's handled well, it's this I wish was different, this I wish was different, this I wish was different, this I really like. So you have beliefs about, you have judgments basically. And one thing to mention is that beliefs about yourself and about life are global. They are the gift that keeps on giving. They are ones that if they are supportive and positive and empowering, they flower every spring with new flowers, and you keep getting new beliefs based on that. And the opposite is also true. If you believe that about one thing about life is that, people are mean, and many of you have lots of reason for that. The challenge with beliefs is that your brain wants certainty. It's one of our basic human needs. Because it does, it looks for evidence that your current beliefs are true. if you have a global belief about life or about yourself, you will find an answer to those questions, or you will find an answer to those. You'll find an evidence that the world is unlucky for you, that you are unlucky. If you believe, my mom used to say that she was unlucky. I can't tell you how many times she told me that. Until I was 18, she won a car. And the same year, she won a jackpot, one of those big ones at Vegas. You pull the thing down and ding, 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 ding. It goes on for, it was a lot of money. I mean, like thousands, but not millions, but enough to feel lucky. So she had that twice in a year. And the wild thing was, she really wanted to go back and keep saying she was unlucky because it was a story about herself. But she now had evidence to the contrary. So the point is, you're going to find evidence regardless of what your belief is. And your belief will basically color your experience. Your belief are your goggles. They're the color of your goggles. They'll tell you if you see things rose colored or if you see things gray, right? So there was a statistic I saw that our beliefs about ourselves, the challenge with that is that most are negative. For some reason, the average person has a disapproving thought about themselves between 50 and 65 times a day. That's the average. And I've seen statistics about girls in high school, especially about body issues and things that are far, far more than that. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like to give you a challenge. This is one you can choose to do if you want. If it sounds like this would be useful, or if you have resistance to it, then I would strongly encourage you to do it. It's called the 24-hour disapproval challenge. And it's basically a journal. You set a time, you write it in your journal when it starts, and you set an alarm on your phone or whatever. And you keep a little journal. It could be on your phone, but it could really be anywhere. Anytime you have a thought that is a negative thought about yourself, about your situation, about life. Oh man, I can't believe it's going to rain. That's going to ruin the party. It's just anything. Just, that guy shouldn't have done that. Oh, I wish I wasn't so heavy and I was lower on weight. Oh, I really should eat better. Oh, I should have gone to bed earlier. Just any negative thoughts where you're kind of disapproving either of your situation or of yourself. Write it down. If it feels negative, write it down. Just for 24-hour period. Maybe you learn nothing from it. No big deal. You practiced your journaling skills. That's not all bad. Awareness is awareness. There's zero chance you won't learn anything. There's a real good chance, however, that you will learn an amazing thing. And that is the power of our thoughts and how much we swim in them. The wild thing is that if you can somehow take the global belief that you have about life and attack it like a woodpecker, just keep working at it, or a beaver, I guess, better, until you get the tree down, little bites, you can actually change your global belief. A lot of what you believe about life comes from, it's nature, nurture, but a lot comes from nurture. A lot comes from your parents and the fourth grade girlfriend that broke up with you and just life experience. And you did your best to assign meaning to things. And so now you're left with more negative thoughts than you used to have. I'm amazed with my 1.5-year-old daughter, how pure we are when we're born. Good God. When I walk in the bedroom, let's say I get up early before she's up, and I walk in, and the other day I walked in and she was awake, and I wish I could share a photo easily. She had the biggest smile you have ever seen. Like I couldn't smile as big as she smiled, like bursting with happy. And she'd make these little, because she's so happy, energy would just come out. That was her starting point. That was her, okay, I'm fresh. I'm good. I just had a drink of water. I'm fine. Like that's kind of how we started. And then shit happens, right? And we assign meanings, and we need to. We're meaning finding machines, but but anyway, this exercise is going to help. So it's going to help you get some references to take it. There's the Einstein question. The biggest decision that you'll make in your life is whether or not the universe is a friendly place or not, a friendly place or an unfriendly place. That's one that it's not just something we hear and, oh, we're aware of now and everything's better, but it is something that if you notice that your view on life is not that the universe is a friendly place, and that you notice you have a lot of disapproving thoughts about yourself or your situation, there is an opportunity for you, because how you handle change comes down to your beliefs, which then affects your emotions. Processing change is not just action. We'll talk about action at the end, but it doesn't start there, and that's not the majority of it. It's an emotional process. When they study people that handle change well and get through change positively, and their life works afterwards, and they found a new way around it, and they're okay now, versus people that kind of get paralyzed or stuck by change, and now there's like a weight on them. They feel that it's not as good as it was before, and that lasts. One of the difference that they find is your beliefs going into it. So that's that. One thing that's related is there's a difference between why and how. Why questions are very dangerous. Not all why questions are dangerous, but in general, one of the ways that we do suffering and resistance and look at the world in a negative way, or this change that's coming, is that we ask why. Why does it have to be that way? Why isn't it like this? Why tends to be at the beginning of questions that are not empowering. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really, really matter why. I just had a very close person to me die. I just found out yesterday. And so, yeah, I did have the question, why? And I remember when I was 20, that question would have paralyzed me until I found out exactly what happened, why they died. I almost couldn't really accept it until I found out why. Now, having been through a bunch of death with a bunch of friends and family, just being older and going through the process, why is much, much less important. Sure, I'm curious, but then again, it doesn't matter. It could have been 50 ways and none of them changed the fact. It's just, you know what? If it's true and they're really gone, that's it. So the why is always a little bit off track. It often pulls us off track. It's not that it's never useful. There is a point to it. If you're trying to help someone else accept a change, it can really help to explain to them the reason for the change, of course. But when you're trying to process emotions yourself, it's something that'll not help. So what you want to do is reframe your why to how. Reframe your focus from why am I in this situation? Why don't I get paid more? Why does that guy get paid what he gets paid? Instead, change to how. How moves you to personal responsibility. How moves you to what's in your control. How moves you to acceptance. Yeah, what's happened has happened. Okay, period. Put that on the shelf. What am I going to do about it? What's my outcome? Where am I going to head? There's a reason that people want to follow leaders, and they want to follow people that they feel are inspiring. One of the things that leaders have, that when you look at this person versus this person and say, that's a leader, that's not. One of the factors that they find that tells us that is whether or not they are outcome focused, right? Whether they are focused on, oh, shoot, that's really a bummer that happened. Or if they're like, okay, boom, hey, that happened this morning, guys. What are we going to do about it? The how. If you're how focused, you're by definition accepting. You're by definition, you put a point on it, you've boxed it, you've moved into the space of personal responsibility. And that is one of the things, whether you process change well in a positive way, or whether it tends to paralyze you or linger, one of the things comes down to that. Can you shift your focus to the how instead of the why? So a next piece is kind of a toolbox. I want to just mention that, you've been through change. And my next question for you is, with the change that you've already made in the past and done well, the change that worked out for you, you used a set of tools. Specifically, you have a set of beliefs. There are a couple different ways to call it, but basically we have a kind of belief that is it's like a blockbuster belief. It's like a building block, like a foundation. We have go-to beliefs that we go to when we do things well, and it's different than the person in the box next to you. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think of a change that you made in the past that worked out okay. Get one of those in your head. I'll give you just 1 second for that. And now I'd like you to think, what was your rock solid belief that got you through that? Something got you through it. You had a reason, a focus that moved you to the how and moved you forward, present and forward, and looking at things in a positive light. You didn't know what was going to come, but you had a belief about what was going to come, or you had a belief about your ability to handle it anyway, regardless of what happened. So what was your belief? Just before I color you with a bunch of beliefs that maybe help or don't help, think for a second. Why did that work? That change that you made? What was the belief that kind of got you through it? We'll call that a rock solid belief. That's one of your tools in your toolboxes. You've made big changes in your life, and you probably haven't acknowledged that you are good at that. Remember before we asked, are you good at change or not? For some of you, you said, I'm not really that good at change. I don't enjoy it. I've never processed it well. If you're one of those people that's had a hard time with change, I have. I'm definitely in that camp. You can call me a certain Enneagram type, or you could say that my mother was that way too, and I modeled her, or who knows why. But for whatever reason, it's not been something that's been effortless for me. It's been very effortful. I've had to put a lot of it also made me, because I ended up studying the topic quite a bit, because I didn't want to feel what I was feeling. This is no fun. It's no fun that every time someone moves a piece of the chessboard, you go, son of a, oh God. Like every move, oh my God, I just want the chessboard to stay the same. That would make me so happy. I have one friend, I have more than one friend, but I have one friend who's one of my best friends who is just like me. We like certainty. We love certainty, and we know it's not good for each other, but we also need it sometimes, right? So we do the same shit every time. We go to the same place, we eat the same food. Well, I won't tell you what it is. It's not, I'm not proud of it. We go to the same movie theater, we sit in the same spot, we do everything, just boom, we know it's so awesome. And yeah, we don't talk about the same thing every time, right? And life has enough interesting stories to keep it, but with us, we just know that's fine. And with the rest of life, it's crazy. So you label yourself not good at change, but you have been through 9 or 10 major changes in your life and processed them. You've been through this process. We've got a process going on at work, but you've been through this and you've done it successfully because you're here. Boom, you've made it, right? You're not under the sink in the fetal position, crying. You're here. It's the people off the call I'm more worried about. Where are they? You're interested in forward. So fantastic. So you may not be acknowledging yourself for all those times, for all that success. You could take the belief about yourself and use those you could list the 9 or 10 major changes you've been through in your life. And you could say, you know what? Like externalizing, stepping back, you could say that person, that's you, that person got through that divorce, and that person got through the merger, and that person got through the job change and the firing and the hiring and the unexpected this and unexpected that and and the health crisis and the change in friendships. And you've been through that, and that person over there did it. They handled it. That's you, man. You've got that skill. So just acknowledge yourself for a second. Fuck, good job. High five. The beliefs that don't that some of you might have written for rock solid beliefs, the beliefs that helped you get through it are things like this too shall pass. Of course, the belief in impermanence is the basis of a lot of spirituality. It's a never-endingly interesting topic. Death and everything ends, including this freaking feeling, including this situation that you're in right now, this unfairness that feels like it's happening in your life, this yearning for something that's different than you have. That will pass. How do I know? Because you've had this before 1,000 friggin' times, and you've been over it. It'll be over in an hour, and yeah, it'll come back in a different way, but it passes, man. This goes. So I just wanted to mention, we also sometimes don't give ourselves enough time. One of the beliefs that one of you might have written down is that time heals all wounds, right? Which is not actually true. If you've had something that you haven't processed all the way, if you don't process it, if you don't accept it and process the emotion, letting it flow through your body, it doesn't actually die. But when you sleep, thank God, you are going back to your ex-girlfriends and your old jobs and your and you're living your alternative lives, and you're making different decisions and living through them and seeing what would have happened. Every time you sleep, just look at your sheets when you wake up, right? The Seinfeld thing. You're going through psychology courses and therapy all night long. And so for that reason, time does make a difference. So my question to you on this is, what is your rock solid belief? Could you somehow take that with you and apply that with your current issues? What if you took that thing you wrote, your rock solid belief, your way you got through change in the past, your main way? If you were to apply that now to your current situation, how would you look at things differently? Think about that for a second. All right. So here are some beliefs that help. Here are some things that may not be obvious, but might sound true when you hear them. If not, who knows, right? I'm fine with mismatchers. I'm fine with being wrong. But these are things that help me and things that other people report that help them. One is the concept that when they study people that handle change well and study people that don't handle things well, or that lingers, one of the differences they found was faith. And I don't mean just faith, spiritually faith, although we'll get to that, how you use that. I mean faith that you'll handle it. It's not even that things will be okay. It's that you will handle it. It's like you'll handle it. How do I know? Because you've handled everything till now. Everything that's come in front of you, every problem you've had, you've handled it. It may not have been well, but you've handled it and you got here. So this new thing, your brain assigns, ooh, big, shiny, new problem. Oh my God, I'm in this situation at work. It feels more significant because it's new. It's one of the blind spots we talked about last time, availability, stuff that, the phone rings, we think it's important, we have to pick it up. Urgent things seem more important than they are. New things feel more important, feel more urgent. So one of the things that you can do is to kind of remember that you've been here before. You've handled this before. Because even not handling it well is still handling it. Maybe you might just sit on the couch and eat potato chips. That's still handling it. And it gets an outcome. So you will handle it. There's no question with that. Faith is one of those things that some people fall back on, not fall back like it's a negative thing, but some people's basis or foundation or bricks beneath their faith that things will be okay when change happens. Some people fall to something bigger than themselves. And that's one of the things that I would offer you. That's one of the things they found in studies, that people that handle change well often assigned, often filtered their issues through something out of their control, bigger than them, larger. Some people did it with religion. God has a plan. Some people do it through the universe. The universe has a plan for me. This will. Some people just have the belief something good will come. So, what I want to give you, because I'm a New Yorker, and I tend to be skeptical as a result. I lived in California, so I have these two wacky things in my brain. The New Yorker side of me says bullshit every time I hear something new, and the California in me is like Men in Black, where they're looking for the aliens and they pick up the National Enquirer and it says alien ate my baby, and it was real, right? And the California in me says maybe. So I'm willing to try some crazy shit that I'll never admit to on a recorded camera. And some of those crazy things work. They do. It's nuts. And some of them, of course, don't. So if you have something that you pull, if you have a reason that is bigger than yourself, something that you can kind of lean on, that's kind of your foundation. Let me put it this way. You've got change. Change is difficult for humans. It just is, right? We finally get our food straight, we can eat, right? And then your kid knocks it on the ground. Like, shit happens. So if change is going to happen, one of your tools is to find something that doesn't change and to grab onto it, something bigger than yourself. So that could be religion, because you're not changing God. That could be the universe. That could be your belief in other people. That could be your belief in yourself, but it does need to be something that one wouldn't necessarily be out of your control. It doesn't need to be, but a tool that's on the shelf that you can grab and pull from is, if you happen to have access to something like that, please use it. The next thing is reality. First thing was, I'll handle it. The second truth that will help you in terms of beliefs is what you're seeing is not true. It's just not. I could go through a list. For time, I won't. But Google things that people don't know are true but actually are, kind of thing, or that people believe but that aren't actually true. Right? Napoleon was not short. Right? We mentioned before. Napoleon was actually taller than the average man at the time, but we all know Napoleon is short. We could go through a million of those. And the thing that you think will happen because of this change at work is not actually reality. It's your story about it. It's not true. Parts of it may happen, parts of it won't, but we know for certain that you remember all those disapproving thoughts you had, 50 to 65 a day, that you are very colored when change happens. We don't naturally flow immediately to, oh, good. If you have an ice cream and you drop the ice cream, you don't say, oh, good. You say shit. And then you process it, and then you look around and maybe you see you're still within walking distance of a place to buy another ice cream, right? How many of you have had a relationship that ended? It could be a work relationship. It could be a wife, but some relationship that you were fired. It wasn't your choice that you left that person or that job or whatever. It was the other ones. By the way, I have met people who have never been broken up with in their whole life. It's very rare, but I have seen it. Think of one thing that's left you that fired you, basically, right? If you could, would you take that person back? Probably not. I've never seen that answer. I've never seen someone say, yeah, they broke up with me. That was 10 years ago. If I could take them, if I could have them back right now, I would. Nobody would. That's how it works. But at the time, you dropped your ice cream. You had a change and you processed the loss. That's a natural human reaction. It's a blind spot when change happens that we have to get over. The blind spot of some change happens. We immediately are fully emotionally attached to the loss. Oh, I lost that. I was going to be married to them forever. We were going to have babies. I was going to be in this job and then move up and and I love the people. And now I don't. The truth is that there's, as we mentioned before, there's, you see one side of the moon. The other side of the moon, the dark side of the moon, is just as real, but you just don't see it. Everything has two sides. There's a positive and a negative to everything. So when shit happens, when you drop your ice cream, when change happens, to get to truth, one of the first things that's helpful here is to make the point, what I'm feeling right now, the beliefs that I have right now are not true. I am by definition having this human brain only seeing the negative. That's by definition. That's where we start. So if I want to see truth here, I need to take a step back. I need to externalize for a second. I need to journal, ask people, sleep on it, have patience, ask for help. Anything I can do to kind of pause my current thoughts. So that helps a little bit. And by the way, if you get into meditation and spirituality and things, you start pushing more and more towards getting a global hold of that concept, which is that your thought is just a thought. It's not real. It's not even you. We think our thoughts are ourselves. You really want to get trippy. We think our thoughts. We think that we're the source of our thoughts. I could get into a whole bunch of crazy stuff there that rabbit hole goes deep. But for now, just know one thing that helps when change happens is to go, here's one way to do it. Here's a simple way. Oh God, shit, drop the ice cream, change. Let me try to get closer to truth because it will help me feel better in this moment and get my control back so I can process and move forward instead of sticking in the suffering. I'm going to force myself, whether it's journaling or whatever, to see what's the good in this. Now, one way to think of it is you don't break what's not broken, right? But there's a truth, and the truth is that what you put attention on, you can fix. If you're at work and your favorite person at work leaves, that sucks. Oh, you had this thing going. Oh, I loved it. And yeah, for a while it won't be the same. But now you have time that you used to spend with them, that you're going to be open to other relationships. Some of those relationships may be very fulfilling, and you never would have stepped into that before. Some of the areas that you're going to learn now are going to, because you're forced in this new job to do things that are different than you're already trained the last 20 years, right? That's a big thing. But there's positive to that also. There's something that happens. We every time we learn something, our computer changes and we see things differently. We process things differently. Nothing happens in a vacuum. How you do one thing is how you do everything. If you're forced to learn more sales, that persuasion skill you're going to use everywhere in life. If you're forced, instead of doing sales, to do storytelling to help influence instead of direct sale, which is often very powerful, right? Those of you in marketing, learning that skill changes how you act at a dinner party. It changes the speech you give at the wedding. It changes how you talk to your daughter. It's a big thing. So I know we dropped the ice cream. Things changed. I'm trained to do this. Now I've got some opportunities to learn some new skills. There's a lot about that that's uncomfortable and not fun. And that's naturally what I'm going to see. There's a lot about that that's coming that I don't even know is coming yet, that is going to change for the positive because I put attention on it to learn a new thing. And every time we do that, our life benefits in so many ways. Next thing is that resources. We have, when change happens and we automatically focus on what we just lost and the negative, one of the things that we have a blind spot to is resources. We talked at a previous talk about the reticular activating system. That is again, that we have a pinhole that we see through and we block out all the information except for that. So we mentioned before, you're not feeling the temperature of this room, that kind of a thing. You're very, very focused on a very precise thing all the time, but there are resources around you that can help you get through this change that you are not focused on. So the way you open a bigger pinhole is a question. And that brings me to the next piece, is that we have programs. We run these programs. Our focus is driven in life by a number of programs. Some of the programs kind of limit what we see. And one of the programs, one of the areas that we can use is that directs our focus is questions. So the way that we can get new resources in our life, the way that we can be like Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory when the lights are out and he walks in the chocolate factory and there's all this crazy stuff you're about to see, but the lights are out and someone says, wow, the ground is squishy, and they don't know what they're walking on yet. And then they turn the lights on and they're in this paradise of unlimited resources of candy. It's the craziest room anyone's ever seen, with flowing rivers of chocolate. And there are resources. Imagine being a kid in a candy store like that. There's resources for you to help get through the situation you're in. There are people in your life that you haven't tapped into that have been through this kind of a change. Asking them for help is something, who could I ask that's been through this before? That's a question that opens a bigger hole. Now you're going to go to a dinner party and sit next to somebody, and it's going to occur to you that they might be helpful. Or, oh yeah, the dad of my friend has been through da, 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 da. It's something that you would have brushed up against it and just had the lights out because the reticular activate, and you wouldn't have felt it. You wouldn't have seen. So one of the reasons that it's likely that faith is likely logically true, even to a New Yorker like me, is because we have these resources, and these resources are available. And the way we tap into them is questions. So while we're on that one, I want to just mention one of the important tools for your toolbox when handling change is, of course, your support team, your change support team. Now, let me talk about that for a second. You have a husband who might be your best friend, or a wife that might be your best friend. You have you have a boss, maybe not. It's a flat company, right? Nobody has a boss. You have a mother, maybe, if you're lucky, you have a mother, and maybe a father. The challenge with asking your mother, for example, for advice is a traditional mother. If you're a mother, you kind of know about this. You by definition worry. Of course, you worry more than anyone else in the world about that child. You care more than it. So it's a natural thing to do. Yeah, some people worry more than others. Got it. Some people wish their mother worried more than they did. But in general, if you're asking for help for people to get through this change, to not go through this alone, to live like tribes used to live, where a village, there's the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child, right? It takes a village to get through a to get through a change, right? And you have people, but let me mention that the people you would naturally go to for advice on getting through this change may not be the people that you will first think of. Your mother may not be great because she's going to worry. Nothing personal. It's her job. There's kind of two kinds of feedback that you get from people when you're choosing a team of a change support team. One is people that go in the hole with you. That's the first kind. Like, oh yeah, oh, it's so bad. God, man, that's crazy, right? And then they kind of justify that you're down in the mud. We're either victim, right? Or we're self-responsible and moving forward and life's getting better, right? And victim's no fun. But when we're in that mode and we naturally ask for help, some people do that. They go in the hole with you. That's not helpful. Your husband or wife may not be the perfect person on your change support team as well, because change will freak them out. That's, of course, they fell in love with this. Now you're talking about changing and being this. Their pull is going to naturally be towards the way you started, right? So they may not be the best one. But there is, and then the second kind of person, not that just goes in the hole. The second kind is someone that when you ask for advice, they agree. That's also not super helpful, because there's a lot of reasons that people do that. It's not a very supportive thing. It's a human thing. It's the way that we connect, but it's not a good way when you're looking for advice to get out. What you want is a ladder person. A ladder person is someone that sees you in the hole and helps get you out. And you know what it's like to have people that help pull you out. They're not necessarily comfortable to be around. So your change support person might not be the one that makes you feel warm and fuzzy and buys you a cocoa and gives you a big hug. They might be the one that kind of lets you have your emotion. And that's one of the things, is let people have their emotion. So my question for you is, if you were going to make a change support team to help support you, it could be people that have been through the process before. It could be people with particularly good, they're keeping their distance from you. They're able to give you advice that's true. It might not be easy to hear, but they'll give it to you. It might be people that just inspire you because they are a way that you want to be in this situation. Maybe they're more resilient, or just have energy, or just like a duck, have things roll off. And just being around them. I have friends like that. When I'm in need, I don't even tell them what my problem is. I just want to be around them. And when I'm around them, their energy rubs off on me, and it feels very natural. You know, they say, as we mentioned before, the top 5 people you spend time with determine the majority of your life experience. That's a big thing, but these are not necessarily people that are the best advice people for you. So think for a second. Who's one person that, if you were to make a change support team for you, who's one person you might ask? Think for a second. If you want to, write them down. All right. Next tool regarding change is, when they looked, there's a ton of studies on this, but when they look at people that go through changes, and there's different ways of studying the particular kinds of change people have gone through, people that have looked at a lot of change, people that have interviewed thousands of people on the topic, tend to report patterns. We've been talking about some of them. One of the patterns that they mentioned was that people that get through change well do not do things necessarily differently. They feel things differently. They found that people that handle change well feel emotions deeper. You might think, people that handle change well, they go, boom, what do I have to do? What's the practicalities? To-do list, go. That's not the case. Processing change, dealing with change starts with an emotion. It's an emotional journey. It's not a to-do journey. There'll be time for that. You'll get to that, but that's not the majority of it, and that's not the beginning of it. People that handled it well, the difference was that they basically felt their feelings deeper. So one way to think of that is that we have these, some people call it change demons, right? A change demon is a feeling that is not supportive necessarily, and it kind of keeps you paralyzed down there. One of those is fear, for example. One of those is doubt. One is blame. One is impatience. One is guilt. There's a number of different change demons that they don't help. When you have a feeling like this, and there's a primary feeling. I'll just mention this. This is a deep one, but this is big. We have a primary emotion that, or you could just think a primary thing, but it's an emotion that we try to avoid, more than anything else in life. It's our main focus. And because there's this one thing we want to avoid, the way we'll often think of it is in terms of a belief. Like some people will think, I don't want to be wrong. Other people, I don't want to seem weak. I've heard, I don't want to be seen as arrogant. Another person I heard one time, paralyzing thought for his entire life was, I don't want to be misunderstood. But you have a thing you're trying to avoid. It's a primary thing. You might think you've kind of organized your life to handle it, but it drives a lot of your life, and it ends up being the button that hits paralyze when you're going through change. So one of the things, this is a deeper thing, but one of the things that's worth a little bit of time, if you're having trouble letting go of things during a change, is to try to identify, what is my big thing? What's my primary feeling or thing I'm trying to avoid in my life? If you put some time and energy into that, it wouldn't take long in a coaching session, in a therapy session, sitting down with a wise old grandmother that's willing to tell you how it is, right? If you don't know what it is, by the way, ask a friend. They are so sick of you talking about it. You talk about the same stuff over and over and over. You complain about the same stuff over and over. Your friends know it, and your friends are sick of it. You might have the gift of a friend who's not elegant, who is sometimes a little bit of a jerk. They're not necessarily as sensitive to everybody's emotion all the time. It's not that that's always jerk, but it will feel at the time like an unfeeling response, but it's an honest response. If you happen to have the gift of a person like that in your life, it doesn't have to be someone you know close, but if it's someone you're around a lot, ask them, what do I focus on all the time? What are the patterns that you're kind of sick of hearing me talk about? And whatever that is, just know that if you put energy into that, if you give it, if you basically take that thing, and there's two things you can do. The first thing is you can own it. So if you think that you're wrong sometimes, like, I really don't want to be wrong. I don't like being wrong. And so I have a lot of fights with people that are close to me about who's right on this or that, because I don't let it go. Because they're not right. They're wrong a lot. Just think, do you have a person in your life who's wrong a lot? Yeah, guess how you know, right? There you go, right there. They're only wrong because you feel you need to be right, right? So if you can identify one of those things, the first thing is own it. Own it that you are. You can go to a shadow workshop with Debbie, used to be Debbie Ford, but they still run them all over the place. Pernille Milstead is one of those locally. Anything where you kind of push into that major shadow-ish, that's a big thing. The second thing is, if you have a particular feeling, it's worth looking at those. For example, I'm going to give you some anecdotes now. If the primary feeling, if the change demon that you have is, for example, fear could be of a lot of things. The fear that things will be permanent. Oh no, this change is going to be permanent. Maybe some of you are afraid of the unknown. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I don't even know what my job's going to look like, right? Until for a while. It could be the fear of taking things personally. Some people believe that I just don't want to be I don't want to be the reason that this doesn't work, or da, 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 da. So we have fear. The solution to fear, kind of the antidote to fear, there's a couple different things that will help with it. But in general, you have to find something that is larger than you. The antidote to fear is faith. And the way to get to faith, that things will be okay, or that you'll handle it, is either through truth, because if you look hard at it, you can get enough references to show that it's logically true, that things will be fine, or strengths and resources. You can brainstorm your strengths. Why are you awesome? Why have you handled this kind of thing before? What are you good at that you can apply in this case? We just don't remember those things if we're to be really honest about our strengths, we would sound very arrogant. We'd sound really arrogant, and we don't want to always do that. With it, it doesn't make you popular at parties. So we're good at being humble, but it's not good if you're trying to feel faith. One of the bases or foundations, or building the bricks of faith, will come from you being honest and reminding yourself what your strengths are. So that's a very useful tool if you're not feeling that things are going to be okay. The second thing is resources. We talked about brainstorming. What are the resources that we have available to us that we could use? What are things that we haven't tapped into so much just yet? The next thing is the change demon is impatience. We often have a feeling that things should be happening sooner than they are. Why hasn't this happened by now? Why can't this go faster? This general feeling of impatience almost always comes with when people are holding on to a change they're not really accepting so much. The solution to impatience is not patience. The solution to patience is to being impatient is endurance. You feel it, you allow it. It doesn't mean you don't act. Accepting is not agreeing. It's not liking. It's just accepting it is what it is. That's where we are. Being willing to endure through it. That's what the basis of that comes from. The concept of doubt, uncertainty is another change demon. Oh, I don't know what's coming, and that's not necessarily fun. The solution to doubt, one is you can get clarity, because sometimes you can find out information to help your particular area of doubt. That helps. But more importantly, the thing that usually helps doubt is the antidote to doubt is surrender. And that's because we can't control the future. There's a few things in life that we want. A few programs we run. One is love. We want to get love, be loved. Two is we want safety, right? Safety and certainty. To feel these are programs that run things that we want. The third is control. We want control over our life. To feel safe, to feel that things will be kind of okay, that we can move the chess pieces in a way that this change, we're going to make it work out for us. The part of it that's uncomfortable is the part that we have not accepted. The part that you have not accepted is out of your control. The way to get acceptance and to feel okay with it, not agreeing, but to be okay with it so you're not emotionally attached and paralyzed anymore, is surrender. Surrendering to it is what it is. This has happened. This is the situation I'm in. My skills are not what I wish they were for the new universe, right? Acknowledging where we are with an honest, good, hard look, just brutal honesty about the new situation is a key core thing with change. It's one of the things that we, if we were to put like a button on everything, it kind of comes down to the concept. One of the main principles is the concept of acceptance. Acceptance is basically you're in a stream and life is moving. And right now the stream has moved you in a new direction. And you're like, hey, what am I doing in this stream? This is not what I expected. This is not the way I know how to fill my needs. I'm not trained or designed or good or used to this at all. One of the things that some people do is they grab onto the first boulder that they can, and they try to hold on for certainty. And then they say, they get basically paralyzed, trying to keep this one thing from moving, right? And that doesn't work so well because life's moving, man. It's going without you. The second thing people do in this stream that keeps them from acceptance is they try to swim upstream. Oh, I wish my job was the way it was before. Oh, I wish I was with that girl still. I wish my health was the way it was 2 months ago. Like, we want upstream. That doesn't work either. Neither of those work. What works is to let go, surrender, and flow with the stream. It doesn't mean you don't swim this direction over here to get towards that shore or swim this direction. You take action, you move forward, but you don't tie yourself to a particular set of outcomes. The pain that comes with change is not the change. Change isn't necessarily, there is a tiny something called the concept shift we talked about before. There's an interruption we feel when change happens. That's a little bit, but it's a very fleeting, impermanent thing. It's not the change that makes you feel bad. It's the resistance to the new reality. It's pushing away reality. It's wishing things were different than they are, and not accepting the way things are. That's basically doing it. That's where all of the pain kind of comes from. So to the extent that you can take your shoulds, put them aside, and all the different programs we run, comparisons, put them aside. And to the extent we can just say, we are where we are, this is what it is. Okay. Whew. And then, as we mentioned, feel your feelings, because it doesn't mean that there was no loss when change happens. There was a loss. You dropped your ice cream, your job changed, the future looks different than we expected it to. It feels initially like a loss. And when a loss happens, just like a dog standing at the door, when the owner leaves, the dog cries. If you've ever had a dog that just was like that loved you, not that your dog doesn't love you if they don't cry, but some dogs are like, hey, see you later. Cats don't give a shit, but dogs, they often cry when you leave because they have a loss. Babies do too, right? Mom leaves the room, the baby cries. It's like, oh, mommy, you're leaving forever. Don't go. So we're still babies. We have the same genetic makeup as 90-something% of dogs. We have this need to process, this need to let go. So if you have been holding on to a feeling about a recent change that is still hurting, just know that you have an opportunity to not to do something different, to feel something different, to allow it to come, to make friends with it. The deeper you can feel it, the more healing will kind of go on from there. And then, of course, there is a very big, as we mentioned before, at the end of the day, action matters. But, how you feel is going to determine the level with which you act, and whether or not you're acting with your full power, or whether you're kind of holding yourself back, whether you're just dabbling your feet, and then the tiniest little thing that slows you down, tiniest little challenge jumps, boom, you just kind of jump off track. Ending on, I'll just leave it with the last thing, and that's, in order to take action, the action takes energy, it takes courage, and courage takes energy. So as simple as it sounds, just do the seed, right? I don't want to throw too many acronyms: sleep, exercise, eating well, right? And drink water. Those sound simple and stupid, but when they looked at people who handled change well, and they looked at people who didn't, one of the things they noticed was the people that handled it well said that they took care of themselves. And when they looked at what they meant by taking care of themselves, it was health. So good luck processing a change well on less sleep than you need, right? Good luck doing that if you're on a sugar crash. Right. Good luck doing it. As I mentioned on a previous episode, when my mom saw me and she said, "You're not working out, are you?" And I said, "What? What are you talking about?" And she said, "Yeah, I can see it in your face." I'm like, "My face?" She goes, "Yeah, you always get a little, like depressed, or life is tough when you're not working out. And when you're exercising, you're like, it's all good." My mom noticed it because she saw me more than anybody for the longest period of time. So we are energy machines, and our energy is not a given, especially as we get older and older, right? Our energy needs to be more and more protected. It's a scarcer and scarcer resource. So as simple and stupid as it sounds, right? Keep it simple, stupid. Taking care of yourself health-wise is one of the largest things that they found. And if you want to model success of people that handle change well, that's that. So there's a lot of stuff there, guys, but I hope it was useful. You're not alone in this process. You have resources around you. You have coworkers, you have therapists, you have wise old grandmothers you haven't talked to in a while, if you're lucky. But I strongly encourage you to feel your feelings, to take personal responsibility, to accept what you can accept, and to be conscious of what your beliefs are, not just about yourself and about life, but about the particular situation, and to utilize the strengths that we've got, the resources we have available, the support team that you could create, the particular beliefs that have worked for you in the past on all these successful changes you've been through before. And the tool of modeling, finding someone who's done this before through this particular kind of a situation or with your particular kind of beliefs. And it's a whole lot easier. It's like if an alcoholic who's trying to recover from alcoholism has a better chance of believing and their brain adopting as true something they hear from someone who's been through the process versus someone who just wrote a book. And there are people who have been through what you're going through now. And the cool thing is they want to help. They really do. Like all humans, it's a need we have to contribute. So ask them, give them the gift of asking for help, because it won't be a sacrifice for them. So anyway, cheers and have fun with change, baby. Yeehaw.
I love it.
Victoria, back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is every time that you have a talk, I think I am up to 6 pages of notes. I have
Awesome.
so much. We really appreciate you coming here. These tools are invaluable. And as you've talked about, it's not just tools for the workplace, although we hope you use them there. They're tools for life. And the more that you learn these tools, the more you can share them, the more the world can become a better place and you can be part of that. So thank you so much for giving us better tools. Thank you for giving us a chance to embrace change instead of running from it. We really, really genuinely appreciate that. And we appreciate every time we get to talk to you. We will continue doing great things like this, but we really hope that everybody who's participating right now or watching this later, that you had a great Mental Health Awareness Month, that everybody took some time to learn something new, to get some new skills. The last thing, I really want to thank Chris, because not only did you come and give us a little more than an hour of your time, but you very generously, goodness, I can't say words, donated your fee to the Blue Cross in Denmark to help at-risk youth. So we really appreciate that you not only spend your time, but you also absolutely donate more than just your time to the world around you. So we really appreciate that. As always, we look forward to working with you again in the near future. And thank you, everybody who joined us. We will see, hopefully, everybody very soon. So thank you all.
Yeah, super duper. Cheers, guys and girls.
Bye, everybody.